This is Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. An informal chats with top business moguls as they share their stories of failure and success in a fun and relaxed way. Get entertained, educated, and unlock the secrets to success.
Welcome to Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. We're back with a wonderful guest who's a marketing guru, Amber Gaige. Welcome back.
Hey, Ronnie. Thanks for having me. It's such a privilege to be back.
So you're the founder and chief marketing advisor for Far Beyond Marketing. Mm-hmm. You've been in business since 2019.
Yeah.
So you have a long track record. And previously, when we were on the last program, you spoke about the other marketing agency that you created and then sold.
Yes.
So you're every person's dream when they start a business. How do I build a business? How do I have a liquidity event that pays out? Ooh. And then how do I move on to the next opportunity?
Yeah.
And so it's exciting to hear. But to give our listener a quick reminder, you grew up in a family that were a group of entrepreneurs for several generations. And so you grew up in that environment, but you decided to, in some sense, rebel against the entrepreneurial side.
True.
And suppress it. And then you went into singing.
Yes.
You were an opera singer.
Yeah.
And then found your way back.
I did.
Which is really neat.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, on this show, have you talk about your new business.
Okay.
Far Beyond Marketing. We know that you're an international book author and that you've had so much success in building operations and teams and creating results for your clients. Tell us about the new business.
I love the new business. It's really the culmination of a lifetime of experience, blessed with the opportunity to serve our clients day in and day out through servant leadership. And that's why it's called Far Beyond. We want to be so much more than just a marketing agency. We want to outserve our clients in every way we can, based on Ephesians 3:20, far beyond what someone could ask, imagine, or even hope for.
What made you get back into the game? You sold a business and you're probably at a point where you could take some time and just relax, but you didn't.
No, I think work is life.
It is.
So there was never a question about getting back into the game. There's work to be done. There's a purpose to be had, and there are businesses that need help. And so for me, work is passion.
Now, I was thinking of this the other day when it comes to just general work, whether you're a business owner or you're an employee, that there's so much value that comes out of being productive and feeling like you're making a contribution of some kind, whether it's to your family or to the business or to the community. There's a lot that happens when we go to work and we produce a great product, whatever that product is, whether I'm working in an assembly line or working in a restaurant as a hostess. There's just value to working. There
is. I believe it's the key to our youth, right? Yeah. They say movement is life.
It is.
When you talk to a doctor, they say movement is life. I think work is life.
Right.
I don't personally believe in retirement. I think work is what keeps us young. It keeps us healthy. It keeps our minds stimulated. There's a beautiful aspect of work that everyone can have.
So if I were a business looking for a marketing agency, what would I need to look for to find you?
Sure.
And what separates you from other marketing agencies? I know we spoke about having your 30-day contract, essentially not having long-term contracts.
Yeah.
But what is it about your agency that really makes you special and different and impactful to your clients?
Sure. Well, our agency really specializes in serving entrepreneurs, whether they are franchisees or first or second or third generation entrepreneurs. Right. We want to help those people who have a goal and a vision and a dream to achieve the freedom and the life that they want to build. You know, we're in Texas, so freedom is everything in Texas, right?
That it is.
So that's what makes us unique, is that we serve entrepreneurs. We also are kind of the antithesis of a typical agency.
Okay.
We operate fully as a work for hire company. So when you're looking for an agency, you want someone who's going to empower your goals and let you take possession of your marketing, not hijack it or hold it hostage.
Right.
So everything we do is with full transparency and work for hire for our clients. And then lastly, we are incredibly transparent. If it doesn't work, we're going to tell you.
Right.
Even if it says that we did something wrong, we'll make it right. It is complicated to do marketing. And I find that we're able to build trust with our clients when we're able to say, this didn't work. Here's where we think we should pivot.
Now, I've spoken to so many CEOs that seem to not fully understand what marketing means or represents. They don't know if it's marketing, making a flyer, or are you helping me with my sales specifically? Are you a sales operation, or are you a digital marketing? Like what is marketing? They don't, And I think it's evolved a lot over time, especially with the internet. But what would you define and how would you help a CEO understand what marketing might represent for their organization?
Sure. I think marketing is the gasoline in the tank. Okay. And sales is the engine.
Okay.
Sales is what gives us the revenue to move forward. Marketing is what empowers sales to happen.
Interesting.
So it is allowing people to understand what your company does, how you do it, and what your unique selling position is.
Right.
So that's marketing to me.
I work with an organization that has contract with a number of companies that provide access to mailing lists. And that's all they do. So they're lead generation and they follow up with those leads through either an email campaign or some other related campaign, but they're only lead generation. How would you define that component relative to marketing for an entrepreneur? Like, I think the biggest fear that a lot of the CEOs of growing small organizations might have is they think they're going to spend a lot of money and they just don't know where the results are going to come, how long it's going to take.
Right.
And they struggle with that element.
Yes, for sure. I think many CEOs also assume that marketing is the same. Marketing strategy is synonymous with marketing tactics. Yes. And there's a huge difference. A marketing strategy supports the overarching sales initiative and business development initiative. A marketing tactic is an email campaign.
Right.
It's a social media campaign. It's a digital campaign. You can't bank all of your marketing on one tactic or even two tactics. I tell my clients, I love chocolate, right? It's a chocolate layer cake, and you're going to have all 7 layers to get the best bite.
Right.
That is a marketing strategy, a operationally centric strategy that encompasses the right blend of tactics to drive the revenue forward.
That's really fascinating. How do you make that right blend specific to each client? So I was talking to a friend about a really large consulting agency that they went to on a specific project. And they generated a report, I think it was a few $1 million for this consulting agency. Wow. And I saw the report, and I think it was an IT report. And the report seemed so generic. For me, it felt like they changed the name of the company and sent out the report and made a few $1 million.
Ouch.
I know, but it sounds like you're so custom. How do you make what you do unique to that individual organization?
We meet with every CEO. I personally meet with every business leader initially for no charge for at least 45 minutes. Nice. And we understand and dig in and ask questions about their company. Right. We work with a lot of different home service providers. I work with 5 different plumbers, 10 different roofers. No two businesses are alike, Ronnie.
That is so true.
So understanding what those unique goals are, who their target audience is. It's so interesting to think that 2 different roofing companies could be after 2 different target markets in the same DMA, but it happens all the time.
And I was thinking of my point earlier where I mentioned that the companies, they say their business is too unique. Their business is special, and how they frame the business, how it's structured, how it's organized, how they provide their service or product is really what makes them special.
Yes.
And so going in, you recognize it as a business. It's not unique as a business or an industry per se, but how do you find your place in that industry and marketplace to create your own revenue stream? Yeah. And I think that's what you're helping them figure out.
We do, yes. And I believe it starts with the foundational aspect of clear copy and telling their story. Story branding is a huge buzzword. Donald Miller has made a career out of it. And I think by helping a business can tell their story and understand their story, that impacts every other marketing tactic. Because if you can tell your story to me verbally, we can then parlay that into a website, into an email, into a social media. So cool. And so we have to make sure that we understand what that story is.
What do you think one of the most interesting, maybe not businesses by name, but one of the most businesses or most fascinating industry businesses that you've worked and helped them really branch out and build a good market share?
Oh my goodness.
Is there anything that stands out? I know I put you on the
we have served some fun industries. I have served an entrepreneur who owned a corset company where she was doing medical corsets to help with spinal decompression and body form. So helping her to create her messaging was interesting. We've worked with CBD companies. We've worked with ABA companies for childhood therapy.
Sure.
I mean, there are some really unique industries out out there.
That's
for sure.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, that's a really good point. I've done a lot of recruiting at my various different organizations as we've scaled and looked to hire people. 25 years ago, I used to attend a lot of job fairs. And if the student at some of these large universities didn't know your name, so they might be familiar with some of the big names, the Oracles or the Microsofts, they didn't know your name, they weren't stopping by. Or if they didn't know or have a relationship to what they perceived your industry to be, then they didn't stop by. So for instance, if as an electrical company, if you weren't an electrician, they wouldn't stop by. But I have to remind people, we have accountants and HR and we have salespeople and marketing people in our business.
That's right.
And so we're a diversified business. But so to hear you talk about the different industries that you work is just absolutely fascinating because a lot of people might not recognize some of the industries that you mentioned.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's amazing how you can make money in this country, right? I mean, you got people that are making money by picking up dog poop. I mean, it's not the business I want to be in, but they're making bank. So more power to them.
Dog walking. I had a neighbor that was in the dog food business or the animal food business, pet food business.
Okay.
And I think they made organic, fresh made food versus getting the hard food that you find on your common store shelf. Now that's become popular. That was 15 years ago. I think they were ahead of the game.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I lived by someone that had a restaurant delivery service. This would have been about 2010-ish, back in the early days.
Okay.
And people thought this guy was absolutely insane. Who calls a place to have food delivered? Now it's commonplace.
Uber Eats, there's a dime a dozen, right? Thank you, COVID.
And it's amazing how things change quickly and how some people were ahead of the game and ahead of the market and some of their ideas. And you look back and you think, oh, they're brilliant. Yeah. At the time, everyone thought they were crazy. Yeah.
Well, isn't that a fine line between brilliance and crazy? I love those people.
So with that, though, what would you tell that business person listening to the program, one of your business decoded tips for that person that might think that their idea is so extreme that it doesn't, like a GoPro, for instance. The idea of putting a little camera on your helmet as you're skateboarding was foreign just a few years ago.
Yeah, it was, right? But then look at the audience for it.
Audience. So what would you tell them?
I would say that imposter syndrome is a self-defeating cycle.
It is.
That if you have thought about it, there's probably someone else that wants what you have.
Right.
So understanding how what your product or service does benefits other people.
Right.
Understanding the benefit, then the problems that you overcome is a huge step to having confidence in your unique offering.
I love it.
Yeah.
So with your organization, Far Beyond Marketing, what's next for you?
Oh.
How do you continue to grow? What's your journey? Not the strategy that is too detailed and confidential to know, but what is it that you're looking to achieve next?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to 10x my business. I really would. I would love to have a business that runs without me while I sleep. I would love to continue to empower brilliant creators to help our clients. Right. Marketing is fun. Entrepreneurship is a gift and it's a freedom. Yes. So let's 10x this thing. Let's see how far we can go.
Do you have a specific audience or industry that you're targeting now for your own business? Are you interested in maybe the home services that you mentioned earlier? And by the way, just as you think through that, I met a wonderful young man at a business event. Finished high school, graduated. He has his own business in home services.
Good for him.
And I had an opportunity to quiz him.
Okay.
And I said to him, look, home services is kind of broad. Are you specifically in an area? Are you doing roof repair? What are you doing in home services? And we had a great conversation. And I was able to give him some ideas on different potential clients that he can use to increase his revenue. It was fun just to be able to coach him in that moment. I just met him. I sat down with him and we were having dinner at the time and it was fun. But do you have a specific area that you are targeting for your business?
Yeah. I mean, being a plumber's daughter, home services will always be near and dear to my heart. Right. So plumbers, HVAC, roofers, pest control, fencing companies. My first company was a national publication where we did lead generation for home services. We had pool covers. Nice. We had fence builders. We had garage doors. So anything like that is certainly what feels like home for us. Right. But apart from that, franchising is great because I believe that franchisees often struggle to integrate the national additional branding components that they are given as part of their business in a box on a local level.
Okay.
So we love to work with franchisees to help them come up with a mix, because they're still responsible for their own local marketing, even if they're contributing to a national marketing fund. So that's a big part of what we do too.
I need you to tell me more about that.
Okay.
Because that's an interesting idea. I met a guy who's the founder of he's the founder of I9 Sports.
Okay, yeah.
And he's been traveling the country and having forums to help franchisees, maybe not specifically similar to yours, but to help them understand what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I was reading through his profile as we were discussing some items, and it was really amazing. But tell me more about the person looking to get into franchising and what they should look for in growing their business, because you're right, they might not get the full support that they need to make their individual location successful.
Right.
Now, they get a lot of support, nothing wrong with franchising, but they might need a little more to make them stand out. But tell me anything you can give me without completely giving away your paid opportunities.
I'm always happy to help.
I think franchising has grown so much, and it's diversified in the types of businesses that you can now franchise.
Yes.
From the early days of maybe a McDonald's to plumbing.
Yes. It has grown so much. And it's a great way for people who are not entrepreneurially minded necessarily, or have a background to have a new career for themselves, because it is a business in a box. So I think you're buying into a system, you're buying into an opportunity. Things to look for when you're looking for a franchise: territory is huge. We're here in DFW, and it is really hard, if you want to go with an established brand, to make sure that that territory is open and available. So that means, as a franchisee, you may have to compromise and go with a lesser known brand in a similar industry in order to get the territory that you want.
That's interesting.
Good, bad, or the ugly, I don't know. But what I would say is bet on the bell curve. And if you're going to have to build a brand anyway, think about the things that are most important to you in regards to your territory, your growth trajectory, how long you want to run this business. Do you want to consolidate? Do you want to have multi-unit? Do you want to have a single unit? Do you want to flip it? These are all questions that I think a certified franchise consultant can help with as well, to help you choose the right industry for you.
So a certified franchise consultant.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, do you work with any?
I do. Yeah, I have some wonderful friends. In fact, I was just on their podcast a couple of days ago, The Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, you have to connect us with them as well. It's the idea of partnering.
Yeah.
I'm always So if there are any podcasters out there listening, my producer's looking at me kind of funny now. If you're into podcasting, I'd love to partner with anyone.
They would love you.
Yeah,
you're so
fantastic.
good at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the franchise, I think, again, is a good business. Are you working a lot with home services franchisees, or are you kind of broad? Do you work in any of the food industry from a franchising perspective? We
do. Yep. We have a couple of restaurants that are franchisees that we work with to help them with their local branding, their local presence and awareness.
Not to sell or promote any of those, but are you seeing any trends that are Portillo's? I don't know if you've kept up with them.
Yeah.
And they're an amazing operation. I believe when they moved to Texas, their facility, and I hope the number is right, I think they were earning somewhere in the $43,000 to $48,000 a day when they first opened. They make, I think their revenue is among the highest per square foot of any of the fast food places. Just incredible.
Wow.
And Chick-fil-A is up there as well on their revenue per square foot. But anything that you're seeing from a trend perspective in the franchising industry?
I think that we're seeing some trends regarding highly specialized food groups, right? Okay. You look at Kava, you look at Chicken Salad Chick, you look at some of these groups, Voodoo Brewing Company, that's craft beer. Yeah. I think we are getting into some of these areas of highly niched restaurants that are serving a subset of a subset.
Interesting. And that kind of goes to our philosophy earlier, is that if you find the right business, it's not necessarily going to be an Amazon in total revenue that's $400 billion in revenue plus, right? But it's a really strong business. And as you continue to expand locations, you can grow that franchise.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the sky's the limit, making sure that you have the buy-in to make your brand really scale. Because in the beginning, whether you are partnering with a well-known brand or a lesser-known brand, you're selling yourself, Ronnie. Right. You're partnering, you're banking on your community and on your personal network for people to do business with you, regardless of what shirt you're wearing.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you're all starting from the same place anyway.
That's interesting. I've spoken to people about where do they go to get their first investors. And it's in your circle of influence, right? Your family and your friends. And you're saying that franchising is very similar as you start to ramp up your business. You need to lean on that network and hope that they lean on their network, and then you just grow exponentially. But sounds like that's advice that you've helped your franchisees figure out as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're on the same page. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Now, you also have experience working in home building and from your prior work. Which, is kind of loosely associated with the home services. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on how, and without mentioning the company's name, but what that looked like in the home building. And I love the home building industry. I think I told you I used to work in home building, and I found it so much fun. What was neat to me when I first entered home building, I had no experience in it. And I remember going to my first groundbreaking. And it was a community of several hundred homes in Southern California, groundbreaking. And then I went back a few years later, and to see these beautiful homes, to see the playground, the kids playing outside, it was heartwarming just to see the community become a community.
Yeah.
And so I suspect that you saw something. But walk me through some of your experience on the home building side, just because I think it's intriguing. Yeah. And then what it looks like to market at build a marketing program at a home builder.
Sure. So I agree with you, Ronnie. I think when you see dreams come to fruition, it's some of the most fulfilling moments in life. Yeah, for sure. I was privileged to be a part of a national home building brand in the Midwest. And that's what we did. We had subsidiaries in 10 different states. We had about 100 subsidiaries at the time. And what we did was to create a marketing process that would empower the local home builder with the set of SKUs that we offered from the corporation so that they could employ it and deploy it in their community. So we had different home plans. We had different finishes. We worked with our buyers, Kohler, Moen, things like that for preset options for finish out. So literally tried to provide our home builders in these 10 states every platform that they needed so they could just do that. So they could just build homes.
I love it.
So we gave them their marketing collateral. We handled all the digital marketing for them in the states where they were located or in their territories. And then we regenerated the leads on their behalf. And then they would schedule the consultations with the potential home buyer. We also have partnerships with the bank, a national banking partner, so that the financing could be secured and easy. So we tried to take the pain of operations off of the home builder because they tend to be very kinesthetically inclined and operationally minded. So to ease the burden of running a business, we gave them the systems that they needed.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you almost made it like a franchise model where you give them all the tools that they needed to be functional. And we were much the same. We had our division presidents, and they were, for the most part, relatively independent until we started to regionalize some items from supply chain to some of the marketing pieces. One of the most fun campaigns that we created back when I worked in home building by our marketing team, we had a program called TDH. And it became the framework of our language for that organization. We wanted every customer, every employee to be TDH, and it stood for tickled, delighted, and happy.
I love that.
We wanted our customers to be tickled and delighted and happy with our product and the value that we brought to them in building their home. And we wanted our employees to have that same level of passion and energy. It was such a fun campaign. It's amazing what you can do with marketing.
What a great combination of words. I think tickled is my favorite one.
Yeah, tickled, delighted, and happy. It was so offbeat that it just felt good and refreshing. It was a lot of fun back in that era. What's next for you? Now, you mentioned earlier that you're going to try to get on one of the singing programs. Right?
You never know. In all my spare time, Ronnie, you never know.
Do you sing for the family occasionally? Or
sure. I sing my baby to sleep every night. Does that count? Yeah, lullabies. Yeah,
I love it.
That counts.
Now, my kids didn't want me sing. So.
My 8-year-old goes, "Mommy, don't sing." I'm like, I used to get paid to do this, but whatever. Yeah, I sing at church. I sing for my son.
Kids are so honest.
They are brutally honest. You better have a thick skin to be a parent. Yeah, for sure.
So you sing at church still?
I do.
You do? That is so neat. Are you part of a part of the entire choir, or do you do a lot of solos as well? Yeah. Oh,
I'm a part of a 5,000 member church. We actually have Avalon. Anyone who's Christian music fan from the 90s, they're our worship leaders now. So I'm very blessed to sing alongside some very talented professionals, and it's just fun to be in their presence and to worship God together. And I do love singing in church on Sunday.
And so I know this. Oh my gosh, my producer's going to absolutely shoot me. How large is your choir?
Oh, goodness. We've got a choir on stage every week. So, I mean, it's goodness, probably hundreds of people. I don't know.
I asked because when I moved to Texas, the church that I selected was partly because of the choir. Growing up, a big choir, and there's so much that comes with having the energy of that many people in harmony singing.
Yes.
Oh, it's just so refreshing and energizing, and you could feel the movement of the song in your soul. It's just so neat.
Music is the universal language. I think it's a unifier. It's a blessing. Yeah.
Very cool. I know we're at the end of our program, but Amber, any final business tips that you would give someone looking to have a similar journey? And here's what I can tell you that I learned about Amber just in speaking with you in the program and before. You've made the process of building a business look easy. And as I talk to try to get many of these nuggets that we can share with our listening group, it's like having a really good person who's now becoming a professor. Like they were really good in their industry, whatever that industry is. And trying to convey that through teaching is just a different experience.
Yeah.
Because they did it so well. It's like trying to go to Michael Jordan to learn basketball. He was so good at it. I don't know how he is as a teacher. I've not been around him, but you make it look so easy.
Well, you honor me, Ronnie. You honor me. I'll tell you, it's a school of hard knocks. I would say that business is not easy. Business requires tenacity. It requires faith, and it requires resilience, and just getting up every single day and doing the next right thing.
Those are good tips. I can tell you most people wouldn't even know where to go to start. Like, how do I register a business? Do I need to pay taxes? You get into some of the other fine details. What are payroll taxes?
Oh, have mercy.
Where do I go to get the operational system to manage this thing called HR? How do I even find the yellow pages? Don't exist any longer.
That's true.
In the old days where you get a book, like where do I go to find a marketing agency more than just a web search? Because if I put in marketing, I get so many groups.
Yeah. Well, the U.S. Association of Small Business is huge. I've actually had a couple of articles featured on their website over the last several months. So I would encourage you to look at the U.S. Association of Small Business. The local Chamber of Commerce is a wonderful resource for business owners.
I keep touting the chamber. I hear businesses mention that they're not interested in the chamber because all they do is pass cards at these events, or you go to ribbon cuttings. The chamber is such an incredible resource.
Yes.
We had the president of a chamber on our program. It's an amazing resource.
Yes.
And for the most part, particularly for small business, it's not very expensive.
Yeah.
People think that it's going to cost them a ton of money. It's not. No. And the value you get from it is so amazing.
Right. Even from the mentorship opportunity alone, to sit at the feet of giants, to ask other people how they got where they got.
Right.
My mom used to drag me to chamber meetings. For the first 10 years of her business, she was a member of 10 chambers, and she would get up at 5 a.m. and she'd be at those chamber meetings. Iron sharpens iron.
It does. And I was in talking to someone recently, when I traveled across the country, when I moved across the country, when I opened a new office across the company, the first thing that I did was to find the local chamber. And like you just mentioned, I joined. And what's great is that those business leaders in those chambers, they want to see you succeed.
Yes, they do.
They're willing to help. As you mentioned, they not only does iron sharpen iron, but those people want to be there as a resource for you.
They do. And I think that we sometimes make things more complicated than it has to be, because in truth, we're all trying to figure it out. We've all been there.
Right.
So sometimes it's just a matter of dropping your guard and asking someone to go to coffee and say, where did you find your HR resource? What attorney did you use? Can I register a business on my own? And hey, by the way, ChatGPT is not always accurate, but it's got some really good insights. So just, ChatGPT it. It's a great place to start.
Right. Well, speaking there, to end the program, tell me about your perspective on AI and ChatGPT as a resource. I've heard from marketing people that they've incorporated it into their practice, which I don't know if it's good or bad yet. But I'd love to get your insight for those people that might want to create their own marketing strategy in their own business using ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think AI has a place. I think AI helps us to be better. I think AI currently requires a huge amount of human oversight and verification. Claude.ai will confess when it fabricates things. I've had a friend call it out, and Claude confessed it. So, you can't go into it blind, but I think AI is something to be embraced and not to be avoided.
Right. I think businesses are just still, like anything, the fear of the unknown.
Yes.
They're just not sure what it represents, how to incorporate it in their business, how much it'll cost to incorporate effective AI tools. And so they're a little nervous about it, but it's good to hear you kind of allay those concerns and say, give it a shot.
Why not?
You'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Right. We're all hesitant about new technology, but look at Tesla now. Hey, what are you going to do?
I love it. Amber, thank you for joining us again on the program. You've been, as I mentioned, an inspiration and so insightful.
Thank you for having me. It was really a joy and a privilege, Ronnie.
I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman.
Thank you for listening to Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. Please be sure to subscribe and share and stay tuned for more incredible Business Decoded episodes.